Peace. From COBO Mountain, I am the DX21. Get myself adjusted here. See, I got on my roster rope and my purple prayer pearls, all from Cobo Craft and available from Cobo Craft. It's all part of the natural mystic of this linguistic misfit. A misfit mystic. The Cobo Bobo. Jon Snow, John Crow Bobo. With the Jolly Juju, Motor and Mojo. It's powered by Cobo Bobo. That's the Jolly Juju, their Motors Mojo. And it's a work in progress, ladies and gentlemen. It is still being revealed to me. Y'all are actually at the mountaintop with Moses right now, receiving the tablets along with me. The tablets of Thoth, as they call it in Greek. The tablets of Tahuti, which are always in process, always being recorded. The Akashic records, if you will. And not the Akasha that was portrayed by the late, great Aaliyah, per se. But why was it that the original vampire empress was named Akasha? Semantics is serious. Vibrations happen for a reason. Even when you're dealing with phonetic etymology, there's some truth in it because all stories are true. So even when you're making up something, you don't know if you're being divinely guided. When I was a child, my mother had a friend, a person who walked along with her, a companion in the truth that she was following. She worked with that man. That man had his own business. And one time that man lost an electronic device of his that was very important to him. And I've never revealed this to my mother or to anyone outside of the Vortex Vixen, a person who has accompanied me on the paths of the law of attraction. But before I get into that, let me put a pin in that for a second. I would like to welcome all of you who have tuned in. Thank you for joining us on this ride. There's us because there's always a we, even if it's just me. There's always a we, even if it's just you. There's always an us. Because even you have your four selves in you. And you cannot say that you don't have any of those four selves in you. You don't have those spirits in you. Because again, getting back to the etymology and getting to the phonetics and how words are derived, they tell you that you have deribonucleic acid in you, DNA. And the DNA are your genes, your genetics, which help dictate who you are. And they come from your ancestors. Genes, genie. Gene, genie, jinn, spirits. You have to be able to draw it up and break it down. Break it down and draw it up. Build and destroy, build or destroy. It doesn't matter because if you're doing one by the laws of the universe, you're doing the other. Show and prove. There's a law that for every action, there's an opposite and equal reaction. So if you're building, what is the opposite and equal reaction to building is destroying. Sometimes it's necessary to destroy in order to build, as in if there's a derelict and decrepit property that's falling apart that has been condemned on a land on which you want to build, then you'd have to destroy that particular entity that is on the lot in order for you to build. You have to clear that particular land and lot so that you can build on it. But in essence, while you're destroying, you're still building. Because in removing that structure, just removing the structure, not even putting something new in there, what have you done? You have freed that space. And if you were to leave that space alone, nature would reclaim it. For every action, there's an opposite and equal reaction. When you take down this artifice, this artificial structure that you've placed there, then you're making room for nature to return, because nature pours a vacuum. We're going to be going on tangents on this show because that's the flight of the Cobo. We are going to be following an outline at some point, but we're still working on the structure. This is a journey that we're all traveling together with, on, to. And there are going to be guiding principles. Some people call them cliches. But to me, a cliche is often just a disrespected proverb, maxim, axiom. And it'll be often necessary for us, even myself particularly, to hit the dictionary, hit Google, because sometimes you need Google to be the bugle. You need Google sometimes to properly blow the horn. It's a quick reference. Don't take anything on face value. Everything is subject to show and prove, and it must come out right and exact, but at least it puts you on a path. It's sort of like a map. Don't look at Google as being the destination, but a map, a guidepost, a buoy that shows you your way along the waters. For instance, when you go to a Wikipedia page, the jewel on a Wikipedia page is in the footnotes, and I'm probably going to sound repetitious at times, but it's repetition for emphasis, and hopefully we'll be able to catch the Cobo wisdoms enough where we speak each other's language and we can intuit each other. That's how we learn. We don't learn by somebody telling you once. You don't learn by doing something once. They say that you master something by doing it 1,000 times. So you might hear certain Coboisms 1,000 times so that you can master Cobo. What is a Cobo? Catharsis aura, I believe. I messed up right there. I believe. That means I'm not certain, because there's a lie in the middle of believing. So I don't know, but it's I think it's better than believing. Catharsis auroris. I'm sure that is its Latin name. Catharsis auroris. And I will check, because the only thing is, because I'm on the solo tip, I can still do this. Because I'm talking, you got to practice what you preach, right? So we're going to go to Google and check it and see what happens when we check it up. I didn't put an R in it. I spelled it wrong. So it's not coming up right. It's not coming up right. It's not standing up right. All right. It's I was right the first time. It's Catharsis aurora. Aura. No. Catharsis aura. 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 I remember that. Aura. Aura is like your spirit. It's like your essence. Catharsis aura. It's like the golden cleanser. The name means, what was it again? Because I had looked this up before and then went through different things and didn't come together with it. In this purifier, which is catharsis, when you purify yourself, that's the catharsis. And the aura, I remember it had something to do with gold. This is the golden purifier. And aura is the energy. This is the energy, the purifier. I'm going to have to make sure, because I had studied this sometimes when you go through a whole bunch of different things, you have things jumbled in your mind, and you have to be able to pull it out of your head, and things get jumbled. But aura, meaning. I think it had something to do with gold at one point. I'm sure it did. But this is it was the golden purifier. I have written it down. I guess I should have been more prepared to go into COBO. This is what happens when you deviate. Jay-Z put it right. He was like, no ad-lib and stick to the script. When you ad-lib and stick to the script, when you stick to the script, you're on the map, you're on the path. I'm going to go into it, but I'm sure it was like the golden purifier. You know, the aura. It had something to do with like the Greek coins or the Roman coins. There was a coin that was called the aura. You see, this is when you try to go half cocked. You look like a chicken instead of a hawk. So, Cathartis aura is the turkey vulture, to make a long story longer. The turkey vulture is known by various names. We might call them the buzzard. Certain natives call him the buzzard. Certain native tribes, certain people call it the buzzard. In certain areas in the Caribbean, it is known as the John Crow. When I was exposed to the revelation, I was in a different part of the Caribbean. I was on the island of Trinidad, or the twin nation of Trinidad and Tobago. And in Trinidad, Cathartis aura, the turkey vulture, is known as the COBO. During that time, I was being led through the ports, as is the duty of Zebulun, by Rasta, who I met on Western Main Road, who was known as Zebi, who I called Zebi. He was Zebulun, was his tribe. And he took me up to his home in Barataria. And he showed me in Genesis 49:21 what y'all could say, the Rasta astrology, the Rasta horoscope, what tribe I was in based on my birth month. Naphtali. Naphtali, don't have to lie. Naphtali, don't have to lie. Naphtali, 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 Naphtali. We tell the truth. Naphtali, Naphtali. And in Genesis 49:21, where it gives the attributes of Naphtali, or Naphtali, it says Naphtali is like a hind let loose. He brings, or he giveth goodly words. And that was so appropriate for my wild nature and the linguistics. As I say, I'm Jive Army's the one that they seek. Tahuti when I write, and Papa Legba when I speak. So, when I was in Trinidad and was under the guidance of the Zebulun, Zebi, I was on Western Main Road, if my memory serves me correctly, in heights, definitely in high heights, definitely in a state of elevation, and the mind traveling at magnificent speeds, beyond the speed of light. And I looked up in the sky, and I seen 6 COBO. You know, flying east, if I remember correctly. All of this is written down, so I don't always remember things precisely, which is why I write them down. Because if I hadn't written them down, then I would have forgotten them. Because I brain dump constantly. So if it's important, we committed to writing. Or we drill it in our minds, and we speak on it to give it life. So me speaking to life, like the great prophet Damian Marley, the great Messiah, the contemporary Jesus of Damian Marley said, speak life. And so I speak life. I speak this to life. The 6 COBO going east. And then behind them was this huge bird. I'm like, what the it was huge behind them. And so I go to my then mother-in-law and I tell her what I see and about this huge bird. And she says, that was a condor. And mind you, me with my native loving self and discovering the native aspects of me had just stumbled upon the prophecy of the eagle and the condor. Now, the eagle represents the tribes in the wilderness of North America to the north, in North America. And the condor represents South America. And they talk of the prophecy of when the eagle meets the condor and we come back together as people that we will rise. So to me, I was the eagle coming from the north who encountered the condor in the south. And I was just filled with so much excitement and energy over this. And I just started saying, COBO MOUNTAIN. It just came to me. It was, the word was put in my mouth. COBO MOUNTAIN. And that became the war cry as I saw skies. I came back to New York City. At that particular time, I was the editor-in-chief of the Source magazine. While I was there, I wrote my editorial letter for an issue of the Source magazine. And you'll see, if you have those issues or are able to go back into the archives of the year 2005, when I wrote my editorial letter from Trinidad. Because I was seeing a lot of things down there. I was seeing different pop culture, hip-hop culture infiltrations within Trinidad. I was seeing influence of Decepticons, and I was seeing the influences of Wu-Tang and different things as I was there. Of course, one of the greatest vibrations was that of Rastafari. Just as the Nation of Gods and Earth, so the 5%ers, have an influence in pop culture through hip-hop here in the wilderness of North America, so too does Rasta have the influence through the roots and culture music and through reggae. Particularly nowadays, contemporary times, the Bobo Ashanti. And I was supposed to go to Bobo Hill when I was down there, and I didn't. And then one day I was on a train and I see a Bobo. And I'm like, you know, when I was in Trinidad, this Bobo named Zebby was supposed to take me to the Bobo Hill in Trinidad. And I never got to go. And then he leaned forward to me and he was like, you don't have to come to Bobo Hill come to you. And he revealed himself to be one of the sons of Edward Emmanuel, founder of the Bobo Ashanti, the father, the prophet, the ascended master. So, there are a lot of things that are not going to be revealed in this particular lesson and in this particular day. There are a lot of sciences within Cobo Bobo, and I'm discovering them myself as I go through day by day. Who's my teacher? The Cobo is the teacher. This is straight from the spirits. This is straight from the ancestors. And it has to be codified, and therefore the code breaking element. Now this one has more been like a ramble so far, a rant, but we're going to get it structured moving forward. We're going to get it structured. But basically, the Cobo is turkey vulture, John Crow, buzzard. And it has a negative connotation, but not necessarily. Why was it called catharsis? Catharsis. Catharsis is necessary. Purification is necessary. The Cobo plays a vital part in the ecosystem. And he also plays a vital part in prophecy from ancient Alkebulan, Africa, Afuraka, all the way to the Native American cultures, to the prophecies of Christianity. They're in there. You just have to have the eyes to see. You have to be able to decode it. But in order to decode, you have to know something about the codes to begin with. Because you've been encoded and don't even know it. Everything is code. Formulas. Spells. Code casting is just the 5G way of saying spell casting. Because when I put forth a code and cast a code, it's the same thing as a spell. It's just that we're in a different age. People don't necessarily respect the Merlins of the world, even though the Merlins didn't stop. People don't respect the prophets of the world, even though the prophets didn't stop. They say a prophet is respected everywhere but his own home. So you actually think that God stopped speaking to people when Revelations was written or curated? That doesn't make sense. So you have a documentation of all of these hundreds and thousands of years of man being in communication with God, and then God goes silent? I could hardly believe that unless I'm blind, deaf, and dumb. And we were made that way when we were babies. We were encoded with the bullshit. So we have to decode the bullshit and make new codes. One of the highest paid professions or emerging professions is writing code. And that's what we're doing. We're going to do here. It's a synergy. We are going to give and we are going to take. And I guess y'all can tell I'm not working from an outline today because I'm all over the place. I didn't anticipate that I was going to go in like this. Moving forward, it'll be more structured. Just wanted to get a feel for how things are going, get a feel for my comfort levels in front of you. I'm not even at this time watching how many people are on the stream. It's inconsequential even if I'm just talking to myself, because if I'm talking to myself, I'm still talking to everyone. Because as Maxwell said, I'm you. You are me and we are you. Everything is everything, I and I. There's the microcosm and there's the macrocosm. The atom is a miniature solar system, and that's the smallest particle. Well, that's debatable. I guess right now it's one of the smallest particles that exists in a complete form. And it's a miniature solar system. As above, so below. The microcosm and the macrocosm. So, to make a long story longer, as I'm fond of saying, COBO bobo. That is a mission to reach the bottom of the bottom. And I'm not the first to have done this. A lot of Father left the temple because he didn't think, or one of the reasons he left the temple was because he didn't think that the teachings were reaching those who needed it, because it was kept inside the temple. Who only a certain type of people came to the temple. The youth that he needed to reach weren't coming to the temple. So he took it to them. When I was young, I was taught, I think it was Matthew 24:14, and I'm probably going to be saying it in New World Translationese, that this good news of the kingdom shall be preached in all the inhabitants of earth to witness to all the nations, and then the end will come. And as a young child, I'm sitting there looking at these people, these Jehovah's Witnesses that I'm around, and I'm thinking to myself, how are we going to reach everybody? These people aren't going to reach everybody. I was young, but I was perceptive enough to know I'm getting doors slammed in my face when I'm knocking on these doors. So how is this good news of the kingdom supposed to be preached in all the inhabitants of earth for a witness to all nations, and then the end will come? I want to see the end of this fuckery that's here. Although I know the fuckery will come back because everything comes in cycles. But what about a reprieve? And also, you must know that simultaneously while there's hell, there's heaven. But I want the overwhelming vibration to be heavenly. as it happens in times. So this cycle has to complete. So for the end of this particular era to come, then the word has to be preached to all the inhabited earth. And some people hear, but preaching to me implies some type of thing beyond hearing, implies listening. When you're involved in the semen of the sermon, then the idea is planted in you. You can have physical children by semen, or you can have brain children by speech, by the sermon. So either by the semen or the sermon, children are born. Brain children and physical children. And some can argue, and I will argue, that brain children are more plentiful and lasting than physical children. How many physical children does Buddha have? How many brain children does Buddha have? How many physical children did Christ, the mythical Jesus Christ, have? How many brain children does Jesus Christ have? How many physical children does Sai Baba have? How many brain children does Sai Baba have? How many brain children does the founder of Baha'i, I forgot his name, I'm sure that y'all can hit me in the comments with that, because I'm still flowing and I don't necessarily have all my sources with me. I'm realizing it'll be good to, have at least a researcher when I'm doing that. But I guess I'll be getting some feedback from people, the audience. Y'all will keep me honest. Y'all will be the researchers if I'm missing something, because we're all learning together, and we teach best we most need to learn. Remember, I'm going to be a person of maxims. Some people call them cliches. People who have no respect for knowledge will call it cliche. Cliches are only applicable when you're dealing with art. If I'm a writer and I'm creating something, and I'm saying he grabbed the bull by the horns, and that is lazy writing if you use those things. But in everyday life, grabbing the bull by the horns has a meaning to communicate something in a quick way. It doesn't necessarily teach. That's not a good maxim. It's a cliche. There is, I guess, a shorthand language. Because some cliches are not necessarily maxims. And yeah, I guess I just learned something new. And they say, and this has been, I cobbled it together, but they say it is a day wasted in which you haven't laughed or learned something new. And I just learned something new by playing with that. I have been saying that cliches are disrespected proverbs. Not every cliche is a proverb. Grabbing the bull by the horns, that's not a proverb. It's an action. It's describing rising up to the occasion and taking a challenge head on. So it's communicating a concept more so than communicating a lesson. It's not a koan. It's a go on, boy, and do it. It's not a koan. It's a go on. Go on. It's a go on, boy. Go on, do it. Grab the bull by the horns. All right. We're approaching the halfway mark. I'm realizing that I did not have my tea or my ginseng. I guess we'll take a brief intermission while I go get my ginseng and some water to drink, replenish myself, and also to break up this monotony. Next time I will have an outline. I won't be going off the head, freestyling. But freestyling, improvising is part of what we do. With my purple prayer pearls and my Rasta rope too. Be right back. Yeah, all your horses, hold your corner. So we're back. Got my ginseng royal jelly. We're going to be showing a lot of different things, especially books, because there's certain books that must be read in order for us to be on the same page and to discuss things. One of the things that I would like to plug is knowing that this phonetic etymology that you sometimes hear me speak, although I had my own style to speak, it was taken to another level when I came across the aleems. And there are things that I incorporate from the sacred formulas to raise the royal mind by Tunde Ran Tahaka Aleem. You can catch that at Sacred Formulas to Raise the Royal Mind. And definitely we want to make sure that we are in tune with higher vibrations, like the A rising. One of the formulas. To me belongs everything, and the whole of it has been given to me. I have gone in as the Eye of Heru, and have come out as the A rising one, Kefera. The early day star has made a path for me, so that I may enter my divine mind in peace, and show reverence to the Asur Amziru Ankar, Master of life within me, Master of life within you. Get yourself in tune. Get that A-tune, that A-tune tuning fork, and hit yourself with that tune and get in tune with that vibration whenever you can. Okay. So, I'm going to crack open this ginseng. They give a little opener. Come with it, and the straws. I used to just bite the cap off and pour it down my throat, but it's much more efficient to just take this little thing and like stick it in the top of the cap and then put the straw. The way the straw is, it's got an angle on it, so when you put it in, it has that space to allow everything to come together. And it empties it completely. So we had a shot of ginseng. I'm a sniper! Hyper off the ginseng root! Yeah. So, we're going to be, from time to time, delving into source material. And that's funny because the source is an important part of the law of attraction. It was also an important part of my life, not just the law of attraction wise, but also from the fact that I was a person who was involved with the Source magazine and actually met a person who became a companion in the ways of the Vortex and Source. I met them at the Source. But I have a little Aesop fable, or story, or African tale. It might not even be Aesop, it might have been collected by him. The monkey, the elephant, and the hippopotamus. It comes in different forms. Some say it's the tortoise, the elephant, the hippopotamus. Some say it's the rabbit, the elephant, hippopotamus. It's like there's different animals that become the trickster in there. But I like the monkey in this particular one. One day the monkey met the elephant, who trumpeted, "Out of my way, you weakling, I might step on you." The monkey said, "Do not boast, Mr. Elephant. I am as strong as you are. But the elephant just laughed. So the monkey asked him to come to his hill the next morning. The next day before sunrise, the monkey ran down the hill to the river, where he met the hippopotamus, who was just on his way back to the water after his nocturnal feeding. "Hippopotamus," said the monkey, "shall we have a tug of war? I bet that I'm as strong as you are," said Mr. Monkey. The monkey the hippopotamus laughed at this ridiculous idea, but he agreed to it. And the monkey came up with a long rope and told the hippopotamus to hold it in his mouth until the monkey gave the signal. Said hey or something, or hi, or ho, or go! So then the monkey ran back up the hill to where the elephant was waiting impatiently, and he gave the elephant the other end of the rope and says, "When I give this signal, pull, and you'll see which of us is the strongest." So then the monkey goes halfway down the hill and climbs up a tree where he can see both the hippopotamus and the elephant. But they couldn't see him. He was up in the tree. And then he gave the signal, "Go!" Or whatever it was. Whoa! Ha! Ah! Ah! He gave the signal. And the elephant pulled and the hippopotamus pulled. And they pulled and they pulled and they pulled, and neither of them can budge the rope. So that they both came to the conclusion and agreed after this tug of war that the monkey was just as strong as they were. And that's what happened when the Europeans went around the world, conquering and making their empires. They were signifying monkeys. They were the white rabbit. They came along and played us against each other. Beside their diseases, which infected the native populations and decimated them far more than their guns ever did, they played us against each other. They had the elephant and the hippopotamus playing a tug of war. The conquistadors, the Europeans, the settlers, whatever European country it was, whether it was the conquerors of Portugal, whether the conquerors of Spain, France, the Netherlands, whoever it was, when they came to meet native people, one of their primary tactics was to conquer the divide and conquer. And that is like leaning on something that Sam Greenlee, the author of The Spook Who Sat by the Door, said. He said that they didn't divide and conquer, they conquered the divided. But there was still some process in there. The divisions were already there. They just exacerbated them and inflamed them, encouraged them. Like the culture degree of the knowledge, truth cipher, knowledge culture, or the 1 to 14, Lost and Found Muslim lesson number 1 of 120. It talks in a culture degree of how they starting trouble amongst the righteous people, telling lies, causing the righteous people to fight and kill one another. That's what happens. They leverage. They call that leveraging. You leverage. When you don't have the might, you leverage. So they leveraged us against each other. And y'all are hailing Buffalo Soldiers. That was just another aspect of them leveraging one group of original people against the other, while they just sat back and reaped the benefits of us decimating each other. And there's nothing new under the sun. It continues. It's the same playbook. And if you don't know history, it's not as well. If you don't know the history, you're doomed to repeat the failures of the past. It's not even that. If you don't know history, then you're susceptible to the schemes and tricks of the past. Ignorance is not bliss, no matter what they tell you, because reality will wake you up when them take advantage of you. So you keep on going thinking that ignorance is bliss if you want. But this is what happened. This is code breaking. The code is the story. The lesson is the story. But can you decipher it and apply it? Oh, it's nice. It showed how witty the monkey was. Yeah, the monkey was a trickster. And then they played, or he played, they played being the Europeans. He played us against each other. The hippopotamus African and the elephant African. And they say, well, the monkey's African too. Well, he was a signifying monkey. In this case, he could be an outsider. He wasn't a person who was inside that particular aspect of the world. The monkey is not of where the hippopotamus is, and he doesn't roll the same way as the elephant. They're in different worlds. Either way, metaphorically, it works. And then they talk about different things of how we were amused by their shiny trinkets and sold off our kingdoms for shiny trinkets and stuff like that. Mirrors, stuff that was worthless to them, the Europeans. Not necessarily so. We had, for the most part, no concepts of individual property or ownership. So them coming and enforcing this construct that it came out of their feudal laws, their serf and fiefdoms and vassals and knights and stuff, their laws, that common law and all those other things that erupted out of their peasant systems, their peon systems, and their client patronage and their patronages and all that kind of stuff. They had the concept of property. We had the concept of freedom. The earth belonged to us. We went as we willed. We did as we pleased. This whole property thing changed that. Now I can't go and pick fruit off of any tree. I can only pick fruit off a tree that is in my particular home area. As in a fenced off area, because we had home areas before, but home areas could range hundreds of miles, hundreds of thousands, hundreds of miles, like the ranges of lions and wolves before so-called civilization encroached upon it. All of this is code. All of this from a story of a monkey, a hippopotamus, an elephant. It tells the story of how the Greco-Roman Empire is existing to this day, because they still have the hippopotamus and the elephant fighting each other. Meanwhile, the elephant and hippopotamus are being decimated by them encroaching upon their environment and putting them in states that are not natural. If you take a turtle, so you go down to one of those stores and areas and you go and buy a baby turtle about this big, and you put it in a little tank. 5 years will go by, and guess what size that turtle will be? Same size as you bought it. Maybe a little bit bigger. Why? Because the turtle only grows according to its environment and the area and the space that it has. Take that same turtle and put him into a pond, and within no time, the turtle will expand based on its area. So if that happens with the turtle, remember, microcosms and macrocosms, everything is everything. If you look at nature, which is our first teacher and our greatest teacher, what lesson is to be gained from that? If you put me in a confined environment, then I'm going to stay a baby turtle in size, despite the fact that I'm gaining years. The more space I get, the better I write, said Jehovah, who brought us Jeezy and JC, by the way. Interesting, right? He brought us Jeezy and J. Cole, Jeezy, JC, Jehovah, Jeezy, JC. Looks aren't deceiving you all the time, because looks are deceiving you because you're looking at the wrong thing. Again, song by the prophet Damian Marley, the angel. And that song looks a deceiving when he's talking about he's talking to an angel. He was probably talking to the Rastaman who like waves his flag. I would not. I would dare anybody who wanted to box the dude who is Damian Marley's flag bearer. I forgot his name. I had a chance to meet him a couple of times. But this dude, through the entire concert, is waving the flag, and that flag never drops. So imagine the conditioning that this guy's arms have. Your arms are too short to box with that guard. Don't have the stamina, don't have the ability, don't have the level. Yeah, and yes, the niggers are up. I can hear niggerism happening outside. It was just the trees before, but now the rumblings of the niggers is coming up. Yeah, there's a difference between niggers, Negroes, niggas, and negus. We're going to talk about that. That's something that is a code that has to be broken as well. I want your feedback. Now, I know this is all a test. This is me seeing off the head if I can continue to pontificate. I presented a code for you. Stories are codes. And I decoded it as seeing it beyond just being a lesson in how you can outsmart the strong. Because that could show that the weak can outsmart the strong. That is also a lesson from taking all of the colonial genocidal politics of the imperialistic aspirations of the Europeans in terms of original people. Take that away from it and just look at it from a person-to-person, everyday perspective. Is showing how the weak, so-called, can triumph over the mighty by using mental power. Some of them say that you can't beat the system, you can't do anything about it. That all you can do is just hope to make the best life for yourself and keep your head down because the highest blade of grass is the first to get the mower. But no. Everything is a lesson. And they tell you, because in any game you play, especially in the universal game of life, the game of immortals, there's always a way to beat the board. It's maybe concealed and difficult, and you have to examine every square inch and pixel of the board, but there's always a way to beat the unbeatable within the realms of games. And games are a microcosm or an approximation or a lesson unto itself of what life is, just as stories are, just as movies are, just as the hero's journey and the fool's journey of the tarot. All of those models of how to travel this choose-your-own adventure book known as life. People, well, there's no such thing as destiny. There's free will. You aren't destined for anything. You have a free will of choice. Yeah, but there's only but so many outcomes. They're infinite outcomes, but there's only a limited amount of elements, put it that way. There were 7, 9, 12 notes, depending on which scale you're using, the music. There are 26 letters in the American Standard English alphabet. But you can do infinite things with those notes and with those letters. Infinite combinations, infinite possibilities. But there's only 26 letters. But what you can do with them is infinite. To me, life is a choose-your-own adventure book. It's already written. But how you navigate that script is how the outcome becomes distinctly unique. Although there will be people who have a similar experience, might choose the same path, they're not going to live it the way you live it. Just like if you're actually reading a physical choose-your-own adventure book, I'm not going to read it the same way you read it, so that makes it different. Even if you go see a play, and this is something that they talk about in theater, if you go see a play with the same actors, same script, each performance is different and unique. It's never the same thing. So too, everything is everything. Code breaking is a wonderful thing. I guess I haven't told much about the secrets of code breaking, but we did cover some points. I showed you how a story, to a certain extent, can be broken down and drawn up to see how it is applicable to things beyond just a morality lesson. We spoke on what a COBO is, but we didn't get deeper into the higher implications and aspirations of what the COBO does. I would suggest that you look into the stories of Oshun and the role that the vulture played in the mythology of Oshun and the Orishas. I would look into the books of Revelation and see what role the vultures, the birds of heaven, play in Armageddon. I would look into ancient Kemet and see what role did the vulture play in their mythology, cosmology, theology, and also in the royal house. What relationship did the vulture have to the pharaohs? What was it a symbol of? So you're going on, oh, you look like a John Crow, Kobo Kiari, sponge cake, and all these different things to denigrating, smearing, and belittling the buzzard and the Kobo, the John Crow and the vulture, not knowing just what it is. And it might have been intentional that you've been taught to refuse that stone. But remember, the stone that the builder refused will always be the head cornerstone, because the things we refuse should be the things that we choose. Look into what role the buzzard played in Cherokee mythology, particularly the creation myths. And you'll see a pattern. Do you not say bye-bye buzzard? Because not to lie, bring goodly words by many means. In addition to talking about the Kobo, code breaking this particular, the monkey, elephant, and hippopotamus tale, we got a little bit into what code breaking is, but I would like your feedback. I know that my tone has not necessarily been the full-fledged Kobo bobo that you're used to. And it's a solo flight, and it's been more of an off-the-head ramble, and it has its pros and cons. And it's a work in progress, but it's shaped by your feedback. It's shaped by how y'all are vibing with it. It is shaped by your input and direction. Between today and tomorrow, we'll put together a more structured format for this particular hour. Codename Codebreaker will consist of 2 segments. There will be from 6 to 7, the cipher will happen. It will be with me, Lord Omni Allah, the Loa, and the 1804 core, Nitrasit, our resident Circuit, and Chloe Fontaine, the natural inquirer, the inquiring mind who wants to know. She is our own personal Alice in this particular Wonderland. And as the team, the 4 corners, the 4 riders of the horses, the 4 directions, the 4 pillars, the 4 elements, And we'll cipher about code breaking during the 6 to 7 hour. From 7 to 8 will be the flight of the COBO solo. COBO will be taking over. And of course, it won't always be like this. We're building, we're testing, we're getting our wings, we're seeing how things are run, and seeing how it all comes into play. I do thank you for taking the time to ride, fly with us today. Always remember that it's never too late to be what you could have been. Always remember that everything is a lesson. As Jadakiss said, was it Jadakiss or Style? I think it was Jadakiss. There's a lesson in everything, even a bullet. All of you writers out there, stay drunk on reality. Drunk on writing, so reality cannot destroy you. That's a Ray Bradbury quote that I'm fond of. And as Abraham Hicks says, it is as all we say it is, it is. It is as all we say it is, it is. It is as all we say it is, it is. So make sure that it is something right. I am the DX21, at one time known as Crazo Schizophrenic, now Crazo Sharp. The DX21 Unicron Don, King Cobo, on his way to being Emperor Cobo. And that point, Cobo was Loa, one of the lower reaches and lower realms of the 7 realms. Hawk Talk is the next, and we're aiming for the eagle. So I bid you adieu. Have a productive day. I am the DX21 Unicron Don Cobo Bobo, John Crow Bobo, and I wish you all a productive and pleasant one. Peace.